Good evening, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us this evening. We have our second question and answer session with Mr. Lawiako, who is joining us from Port Moresby. And we'll go by the list. We'll start off with Rafaela, and then Effie and Jemima. Since Rafaela and Effie, four of them are not in the meeting room, we'll start off with Jemima. Please, Jemima, go ahead.
Can I start now? Thank you. Good afternoon, Gira, Mr. Ako, and everyone. I have three comments and three questions. They are all related to topic on week 11 on faith-based diplomacy, PNG, and Israel-bilateral relations. So I'll start off with my comments and then I'll ask my questions. So my first comment is faith-based diplomacy gives PNG a unique diplomatic identity by aligning with Israel through religious solidarity. PNG demonstrates how small states can use faith to amplify their voice on the global stage. My second comment is it is a case of soft power in action where region act as a soft power bridge between PNG and Israel, showing how non-material values can be can be as influential as trade or security in international relations. And my third and final comment is PNG's faith-based diplomacy with Israel highlights the role of religion as a soft power in international relations. And while the embassy opening in Jerusalem reflects PNG's Christian identity and strengthens ties with Israel and its allies, it also exposes the country to geopolitical risk. And by leaning too heavily on religious solidarity, PNG may alienate Arab and Muslim majority nations, limiting potential trade and cooperation opportunities. And faith can be a valuable diplomatic tool, but it should not come at the expense of another or interest-based foreign policy. That's it for my comments. And moving on to my questions, I have three questions. My first question is, what were the major motivations behind PNG's decision to open an embassy in Jerusalem in 2023? Was this decision primarily religious, political, or strategic? And how does it position PNG within global debates on the Israel-Palestine conflict?
Okay, I've been through Olgeta. That's Jemima. That's a very, very not interesting, but very strong question. Why I'm saying very strong question is because when we look at our the genesis of our religion, uh, the missionaries came to Papua New Guinea in the 1870s, 1880s. So the teachings taught, especially well, the mainstream uh, denominations. The teachings showed that talked about the Bible and Israel in particular, and Jews and Gentile and all that. So that idea has stuck in all our teachings over the last 150, 160 years. in church, in Sunday school, in even in religious instructions in schools. That has remained. So with that in mind, all Christians have looked upon Israel and as the religious capital of the world, if I may put it that way. If I may put it that way, yeah. And even they have what's that word where the faithfuls make a trip to particular to Israel or to places where there are religious relics or of religious importance. Pilgrimage. That is pilgrims have been visiting the Holy Lands for the last 2,000 years. So in all the countries, in most Christian countries, diplomatic undertakings, they always take into account their Christian upbringing, and whether they include it into their foreign policy to integrate or to participate in international relations or not is another question, but they include it. I say that from a religious point of view. Now, from a strategic point of view, the establishment of our embassy in Jerusalem comes at a time when we have had the mission in London looking after the Middle East. Now, the mission in our High Commission in London, I've never served there. But from my observations, it has always been a 3, sometimes 4-man mission, mostly 2-man mission. Now, you had to look after the Commonwealth, you had to look after the Middle East, and some other countries in the region. The lack of a game plan. You see, that's where a game plan, having a game plan comes into play here. We have never, since right up to the time we established our mission in Jerusalem, there have been not that much interaction with the independent state of Israel as one we would have wanted to, apart from prime ministers visiting now and then, right up to the time the mission was established. So when we look at it that way, then it becomes a strategic. Now note that it's strategic and it's political as well. We have to add in the political dimension into it, because most of the missions are in Tel Aviv. Because when you look at the history of Israel and Jerusalem in particular, it was partitioned off. So some sections of it were left with the Muslims, I think, and the others were left with the Christians. So they have sectors in it, which is why most countries didn't want to, were reluctant in establishing their missions up in Jerusalem because of that. But then Jerusalem is also the political capital of Israel. So from another standpoint, you need to have missions in the political capitals. Just like how you have all the missions in Canberra, while the business capital of Australia is the other cities, Sydney and Melbourne, but the missions are in the government center in Canberra. You have most missions in Putrajaya in Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur. Or Putrajaya is another area where the government, Malaysia has moved its government right up there. Seat of government out there, while in Kuala Lumpur, missions are slowly moving into that space. So there's a lot of variables at play when it comes to that. You can look at it from a strictly religious point of view that we need to be in Jerusalem. You can look at a strategic point of view that we need to be in Jerusalem, and we can look at a political point of view that we need to be in Jerusalem because of so and so and so and so and so. So that's how I can answer your first question, Jemima.
Thank you, Mr. Ko. Moving on to my second question. My second question is, how influential are PNG churches and religious leaders in shaping government foreign policy towards Israel? Do political decisions reflect the will of the church more than the state? And what does this mean for the secular nature of PNG's governance?
I think that influence also depends on the the connectivity of our political leaders to their churches. You know, some have churches. Some out of their own desire do not go to church and all that. So you look at you also look at the Jewish community in Papua New Guinea, or the Jewish slash Papua New Guinea community. It's growing, and they have had a say in the political affairs. Just last week, I think just last Saturday or Sunday, they had a gathering in the Hilton, the Port Moresby Hilton Hotel. I just saw on LinkedIn or something that they had a gathering on there just to bring all the faithfuls together. That political influence we're talking about comes from the Council of Churches. The PNG Council of Churches is made up of all the religions and let's say all the denominations in Papua New Guinea, and they do put out their statements when there are political upheavals, so they need to make a statement against some political activities happening. They do come out with a political statement out in the papers, condemning or supporting. So in that way, we have the churches having a voice in Papua New Guinea's affairs. I'm not really sure whether that political voice is strong in foreign policy affairs, because we have seen from our engagements that there seem to be a disconnect. There seems to be a disconnect between foreign policy and domestic policy. There seems to be a disconnect by our experts in connecting those connecting these two together to make sure that we achieve Papua New Guinea's interest in international relations. Because we cannot achieve our national interest in international relations without without a good backyard. That's what I'm trying to say. You have a good house, you portray it internationally. If you have a bad house, and you can't portray it internationally, and we have experienced that in the early years of planning for APEC 2018, especially 2012 and 2013, and when we were talking about our the opportunities that would come in Papua New Guinea, or some would say, when we were talking about our dreams, the most of all the economists, because they have missions here, most of them have missions, they were telling us, no, you don't have that. You know, we got told in the face, you don't have infrastructure. How do you expect to host these things? And then we kept on saying, no, but we will, yeah, you will, you might. But right now, according to how it stands right now, you know, in 2013, if you look back at 2013, we had nil infrastructure to host a gathering of an APEC level type of international engagement. And those missions were right. So in terms of the churches having how influential they are influential mostly through the Council of Churches. They give their statements today. I am yet to see them putting out a statement on foreign policy. On foreign policy, they haven't put it out there, and by right or by normally it's not in their, it's not part of their responsibility to talk about foreign policy. They might talk about international relations, why PNG's relationship with Israel should be encouraged or should increase because of so and so and so. But in terms of foreign policy, as in the policy aspect of it, they are yet to put out anything on that. But when you look, when you collate all their statements, you can make out, you can make up a discourse on foreign policy, because they talk about domestic issues which can affect our foreign policy initiatives. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Ko. Moving on to my third and final question. My third question is, how does PNG's faith-based diplomacy with Israel compare to that of other Pacific Island nations? For example, how do PNG's actions differ from nations like Fiji or Solomon Islands?
Well, explain it properly. Clarify it. Why I must just ask me the question again and try to put some clarity into it. I think it's too general, and I might give you a very general answer on that. Why I'm asking you that is because PNG is predominantly United Church, Catholic, Lutheran. Fiji is Methodist, Catholic, and all that. So that's why I needed to clarify your question so we can answer it properly.
So my question is, how does PNG faith-based diplomacy with Israel? How, compared to other Pacific Island nations, how is it, these actions, how is it different from countries like Fiji or Solomon Islands? In terms of PNG opening an embassy in Jerusalem and all that, like it's more to do with religion. So how is it different from countries like Fiji and Solomon Islands?
From my point of view, they opened it, Mr. Ego. They opened it. I saw on one of the WhatsApp groups, Prime Minister Rambuka talking at the opening. I think last week or sometimes this week in Jerusalem. Okay, why I ask you to clarify it is because when we look at the genesis of our Christianity in this country, you will see that the Methodist Christianity in the whole of the Pacific went to Tonga first in 1822. The Methodists arrived there first in 1822. So the Tongans were the first to bring out the good news to the rest of the Pacific. I can let me say openly, generally to the rest of the Pacific, because from the Tongans from Tonga they went to Samoa. From Samoa they arrived in Fiji in the 1830s, and then from Fiji by the 1850s and 60s the Methodists came to Duke of York's. Okay, and around that time also the London Missionary Society went into the Cook Islands. And then from there, by the 1870s, they came out to the Papuan coastline. So it goes back to our first question, the answers to our first question. So based on that Christianity, which is Bible, the Bible is the main teaching guide, okay? Or no, Minogan Tokolsam. As I said, the Bible is a teaching guide. The Bible does not equate with anything. Okay, Bible is a tool of its own, and it is there. It is there for us Christians to use as our guide. So based on that guide, our forefathers began to realize that big man born lo Israel, Bethlehem, and from there over the last after 2000 years, work blame come out assembly Yumia. So with that knowledge, you will pack him aside. When we became independent, we started talking about local governments and how policy integrates. But there is always that that longing to be part to be connected spiritually with Israel because of our Christianity. And once government started becoming stronger over the years, right up to this decade, we saw that it was important for us to set up a mission in Israel, and not in Tel Aviv, but in Jerusalem as the capital of Christianity in the world. And with that establishment over there, it confirmed our faith. I would think. I would think that the establishment of the PNG diplomatic mission in Jerusalem confirmed our Christian faith, that we were now one with our faith. I am not trying to now include politics or strategic in it now. Leave those on a side yet. We're talking about the spiritual aspect of it. I would think that the same also goes to the Fijians and the Solomon Islanders. And if you have traveled to the Fijians or have come into contact with the Fijians, you will see that they are very, very strong Christians, and their communities do that too. In Sundays, nothing happens on Sundays, and that's the faith in it. That nothing happens on Sundays. The place is nothing moves. Maybe police or lines, but no one moves until late in the evenings or stores are up, and that's how their faith moves them. So the fact that we have missions in Jerusalem means that we are now connected to our Christianity. Now, putting our spiritual aspect on the side, when we come to strategic and foreign policy, now that's when the game planning comes into play. Now we have a base. We have a diplomatic mission in Jerusalem, which is unstable at the moment. I mean, our participation in that area is unstable at the moment because of the political upheavals over there. That has also stopped or paused or provided us to do stop-start work there. Sometimes they evacuate the diplomats out of there. We've seen on news in the last 12 months or so that on several locations, diplomats have been evacuated out of there to come home until the places have gone to normal again or go back. So with that in mind now, what would be the purpose of our mission over there now that we have it? Is it to in addition to improving bilateral relations with the state of Israel, is it just basic for that, or is it also to strengthen bilateral relations with the Arab nations because of our current foreign policy of friends to all, enemy to none? See, if we do not understand this very well, it can become very confusing, which is the reason why we need that foreign policy that new foreign policy out to give us guidance. What happens if you are an officer, you are now a serving diplomat in Jerusalem, and you during one of the receptions, one of the Arab nations come up to you and says, "Listen, we want to invest in this, invest in agriculture in the East New Britain province." What would be your reaction? No, God. Me pla stop for Christians, no God Muslim. Or but you go back to friends to them, hey, please come in, and then you are told, no, you can't do that. So you see, that's where the foreign policy comes in, and foreign policy must come in at a couple of levels down to the operational level where we officers or we the operatives can understand it. The practitioners can understand it. You just leave it at the high level. It provides confusion, which is why I couldn't answer one of the questions posed to me. I think Rafael or Tess last week regarding the corporate plan and how it's effective. I said I can't answer it because I'm not sure how they operationalize it among the missions. Now you have the corporate plan 2017-2022 in your reading folders. So if you go back to them, you see, a lot has happened between 2022 and 2025, or a lot has happened between 2018 and 2025. Now, if we were to go back to them, start looking at some of the objectives and what possible activities they would have come up with, and we look at the international events that have happened where Papua New Guinea has been involved, have we implemented or not? It's easy now to go back and review. Now we get that get that corporate plan. Okay, this is what they intend to do. Now we look at the events. Did they do them or no? Or was the opening up of the mission in Jerusalem part of it? Part of that corporate plan? Was are the opening up of the missions in WTO in the other areas? Are they part of it? Are the change of is gender balance in heads of missions part of it? To have more females as heads of missions, part of it. See, those are the things we that's the reason why you have a corporate plan. The reason why you have a corporate plan is to do what is to implement it. It's not just to tick off a box saying that may lang a corporate plan penis. You need to implement it. And the risk of having a corporate plan is that, do you have the numbers in your organization to implement it? The corporate plan below rugby league teams are different because number 1 to number 17 or number 25, they're all rugby league players. They've played in that game. I mean, we're looking at the top level grades. They played that game for the last 20 years or 15 or 12 years. So they know their general terms of reference. So when there's a new coach that comes in, okay, we'll say the new minister will come in and tell them now, by me move him Lily goals, and they know. Because they know that the game's is same, 6 tackles. There are 6 tackles in this game. Whether you kick the 5th tackle or whether you kick the 1st tackle depends on the leader now. Okay. So with that corporate plan in play now, and then we know that it has not been revised, a new one has not been done yet, or is in the process of being completed, or it's been done at the moment. With that in play now, how have the international how has PNG's international relations and events in the last 5 years affected that, or has been influenced by the corporate plan? So then we put ourselves in the shoes of the Fijians and the Solomon Islanders. We don't have any gold mines. So we have very, very minimal gold mines. We guess our population is less than 1 million, all that. And then you have these other bigger opportunities through development, through bilateral relations with all these other countries out there. Are you going to hold back and follow the Pacific Solidarity example? Now, Joachim? Because when we are looking at Pacific Solidarity, my view on Pacific Solidarity is just about numbers. There's nothing on votes. There's nothing on supporting one another in doing, very, very heavy stuff to improve the lives of our communities. You look at the Pacific Island Forum, how is it involved in improving the lives of our communities? When we know that it's made up of different member states who volunteer to abide to their leaders' declarations, annual leaders' declarations. So those are the when we are looking at the type of question which Jimema said, how does PNG compare to that? We can talk about PNG, and once you make that comparison, you put this on it, and then you put yourself in the shoes of that other side and see how they compare with us. And then from there, I think we can have some good understanding of why they are going out there to Jerusalem to do that. And then you look at their political history. The political history of Fiji is much more experienced than ours. They've been going to the Middle East for peacekeeping for more than 3-4 decades now. So if it is a nation that needs a embassy, a diplomatic mission in Jerusalem, it's them. Because now their soldiers know that once we go peacekeeping in Syria or one map, embassy will stop close to us, or can suppose a heavy kisimo can move go close to Loapta. So okay, so now we have a mission there. What's going to happen? How is it going to happen? And then you look at our own PNG's own military history. During security discussions in 2012, 2013, and when the discussion centered on who should we move to ask to come and support our APEC 2018 security initiatives, you had the Army of Sako all trained in Dantron. So with the type of officer core in place, how about you go Burkimor or convince him to let's move in this other direction? That was a difficulty. And in 2013, 2014, PM Monil had visited Jerusalem, that planted a tree, and they had offered to support our security operations for 2018. And yet, when these things were brought, the Army of Sako said, no, we may start bilateral, really, our traditional partners. So those are some of the configurations we need to consider when we're looking at PNG as a whole, and then you break PNG down into security, policy, and all that. Then you will see the variables at play, all moving in different directions. So you will need very, very strong political leadership to bring all those variables into one. Have you ever seen this TV program on that bingo thing, or where you have this ball and have this big round ball and in it all the numbers are all been pushed around by air? That's something like that. You have all the variables all jumping all over the place, being pushed around, and they've been contained by one policy. The fear is that once you open it up, no, they'll go like this. That's the fear. While the aim is to, once you open it, they'll all go in one direction. And the foreign policy, the new foreign policy white paper can support us in that. Okay, Jemima? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ko. That is all from me.
Thank you, Jemima. Thank you, Mr. Ako. Now we will move on to Rafaela. Rafaela, please go ahead.
Good afternoon or good night, Mr. Ako, Mr. Yegora, and everyone. Okay, so yes, apologies. There was a little bit of technical difficulty, so I had to join in late. So yes, I have a few questions and comments regarding our session on, I think was it topic 9? Yes. So I'll begin with my comment and then I'll ask my questions after. So my first comment is based on the budget constraints that undermine PNG's diplomatic influence, as per Mr. Ko's discussion that we had, I think was it not last week, but the previous week. So so PNG's declining foreign affairs budget from 2013 or between 2013 to 2017, it limited PNG's ability to sustain international obligations, leading to reputational damage. And this highlights the link, and I believe this highlights the link between financial resourcing and credibility or financial or status in international relations. Meaning to say that like if a state, if it cannot pay its dues or maintain missions, I'd say that it risks being sidelined in global decision-making forums. So without money, PNG loses not only influence but respect as well. And one thing that came to my mind with this situation when Mr. was talking about it is that I feel that PNG should focus only on its most important partners and use cheaper ways like online diplomacy to stay connected. It's much more cheaper that way, and it's not as costly. That's my first comment. Onto my second comment, that's in relation to the gap between policy design and implementation. Now, the 2017 Foreign Policy Review, it produced clear strategic objectives, but the absence of parliamentary and cabinet endorsement, it reflected or it meant poor follow through. So the 2017 review, it gave good foreign policy goals, I'd say, but they were never put into action, as what Mr. Ako has discussed, because the parliament didn't approve them. And this indicates the problem there is that we often make plans but don't follow through with them. And an opinion or a thought that came across my mind while Mr. was talking about this as well is or why not we or why not the government, the country, or make foreign policy part of the law or part of the mama law, the constitution. And there like or there may be like a few complications, but I feel that if we have it constant with the mama law, it doesn't change like over time, even if the government changes, like it remains consistent even if we have government changes, because like over the years we have new governments or new leaders that come in, they come in with their own ideas on how to go about with how the country affiliates with other nations or with its partners. So I feel that if like in my opinion, I feel that if it's part of the constitution of the mama law, there is this consistency in it, so that even if the government changes, it remains consistent, so that the changing government can just follow through with what's there. That's my second comment. Onto my third comment, that's relating to the weak bureaucratic capacity and the need for professionalization. Now, Mr. Ako emphasized that in our session, the lack of trained bureaucracy to manage foreign relations with overstretched missions and poor financial management. And effective diplomacy, it requires more than just strategic objectives. It needs professional diplomats, training, and institutional consistency. So PNG does not always have enough trained diplomats or strong institutions to manage foreign relations properly. And this makes it hard to carry out the policy or the policies that are in place. And because of that, that shows a need to invest in training diplomats, hiring professionals, and managing missions well. Because other small countries like probably Singapore and New Zealand, they built strong diplomatic systems, and I feel that those are some countries that PNG can look at to learn from. Onto my fourth comment, that's relating to domestic governance and international credibility. Now, PNG's foreign policy challenges, they reflect or they illustrate the intersection of domestic governance and international credibility. So if international capacity, financial discipline, and institutional resilience, they are weak, foreign policy goals, even if they are well designed, it remains aspirational, they're just dreams. And PNG's strategic location and size in the Pacific, it gives it natural influence. But realizing that potential, it requires aligning our resources and building professional capacity to ensure the consistency in implementation. Onto my last and final comment is reflecting upon the 50th independence and all the celebration that has happened. And I was just thinking for PNG to really rise and to prosper into the next 50 years from now, the nation needs leaders who are not only strong and visionary, but most importantly, patriotic. Because our country already has the resources, the culture, and the potential. What we need are leaders who put the people first and are willing to make bold decisions for the good of the nation. Because without committed leaders, good policies remain empty words on paper, or they're just dreams. And progress is slowed by weak implementation. So to our future leaders, please love your country more than you love yourself. Because true leadership, it means standing firm in protecting PNG's sovereignty and in guiding the nation with honesty and courage, and ensuring that every plan, it serves the people and future generations and not their pockets or their interests. And I feel that if we have leaders who love our country more than themselves, PNG will not only achieve its goals, but also stand proud and respected in the global arena. So that's my final comment. I'll go on to my questions. I only have 3 questions. So my first question for today is that in your opinion, Mr. Ako, should PNG reduce the number of foreign missions and focus only on key partners to save cost? Or what would be your recommendation on this? should PNG reduce the number of foreign missions and just focus only on key partners to save cost? That's my first question. Would you like to answer that and I go on? Or
I'll answer this and then we go on. Then I'll answer
All
this and you ask your second one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's one of the questions that has been going on for the last 20, 30 years. Whether to reduce it, but again, it goes back to the foreign policy white paper. Depending on the white paper and which direction we are going. Let's use Prime Minister Wingti's look not policy. If it had came out in a foreign policy white paper of look not, then it would mean decreasing missions or number of diplomats in the eastern, west, and south, and increasing missions up in the north. One. Secondly, restructuring the whole of the foreign service structure, and instead of having say the Pacific, Australia, New Zealand brands, punch brands, you can have we can have decrease it down to a punch desk, and then having those funding resources there to build up maybe the China desk. Have a brands called the China brands. So it all come. So your question can be simply answered by coming back to the foreign policy white paper. Which direction is the white paper going? Now, based on the direction, you beef up our. We direct all our resources accordingly over there, and the resources also include building up the manpower. And then you mentioned about training. It's very important to know this because I was noting that we need more training in diplomacy. Not only us, everywhere. The international relations environment is changing by the second. That we need people who are able to adapt to what's happening here now, and then they'll write a brief on say you write a brief on the situation in Israel, and then tomorrow it changes. You need to be able to change it. Not to some ask me give me opinion, say what something you like him again. You know, we need the capability of having running briefs of all our bilateral partners, so that when cabinet or when prime minister or when foreign minister says that I need a brief written on this, you can provide it within the hour because you are maintaining a running brief. Now all that, you don't need to go abroad for training for that. Maybe you could have done that. Maybe that was important 20 years ago, but 20 years later, we have tons of retired international relations experts. The foreign policy white paper was written by an eminent peasant group made up of retired foreign service officers, who among them included high commissioners, ambassadors, and foreign secretaries. These are the people which you mentioned about funding. These are the people whom funding can be utilized for them to set up a foreign service institution where they can all be utilized. So that 20 or 30 years old civil government or current this institution and start providing capacity building for everyone. In that way, we ourselves can have a small, can have a very, very a strong forward-looking foreign service. One thing the Fijians have over us is that they have a small foreign service. One. Secondly, one topless. Two, also harim tok because em nature is culture bol kamantap. Of course, their traditional history noted them down as cannibals, but when the Methodists went in, changed in life lograman, they converted the thing into lotu passing in their system. I have known I have a lot of Fijian friends. Some I played rugby with, and they were ferocious in rugby. I want you to listen very carefully to this human nature. They were ferocious in rugby. They could tackle you and poke you, gouge your eye, or put him one mouse and pull him. But this is back in China. But when we went back into diplomatic functions, I even sip to him a while there. Look him. And that is the attitude of portraying the international relations. So how does that balance now? You have Papua who's sitting there looking smug, talking, while you have the huge Fijian planker quiet na answer speaking and when and the way you'll talk all poret lo talk we know to basing out lol na so they want to speak they will speak really nicely and softly. This change in attitude and the human nature all kisim go through, and that's the advantage over us. And I've always mentioned that, and even I'm mentioning it to you guys now. So once you you have the opportunity of saving your country abroad in the Pacific, note that this laman or medicinal or friendly na totok good plan na humble stuff outside I'm not like money. So when you are negotiating something, always bear that in mind. And I mean, outside we debated outside, and then end up with all this on the same line. But time office now when we in diplomatic function, they're different. So the same goes to them. I think they are not very much as Samoans, but them and the Tongans are same. So we need to look at that, and I do agree that budget is important, but budget depends on the foreign policy white paper, and it goes back to the corporate plan. Having a corporate plan does not guarantee you 80% of funding drawdown from Treasury. Although Treasury always encourages government departments to have corporate plan because that confirms their ability to manage the money accordingly to their plan. So you have a corporate plan, but if you cannot move it down into the objectives and the activities to tie them down with the funding component of that amount you put in the total budget, then it will still serve the same purpose. You will not achieve what you want. So how to close down missions depends on that. Now, going back to the earlier comment on faith base. So let's look at our immediate region at the moment and the setup of our missions. So down south we have Australia, and we have the High Commission in Canberra with consulates in Brisbane, Sydney, and Cairns. 3 plus consulate, 1 plus High Commission. Across the border, we have one embassy in we have an embassy in Jakarta and a consulate in Jayapura. 2. Upside 2, Tamblo, 4 plus. We have a High Commission in Honiara. We have a High Commission in New Zealand. Note very well that High Commission in New Zealand is responsible for bilateral relations in the Pacific. Okay, it's not the High Commission in Fiji. Our High Commission in Fiji is responsible for our engagement with the PIF. It is not there for bilateral reasons. So then you look in. So if we are trying to manage funds now, your hands are tied because you cannot increase manpower over there or decrease because foreign policy talk on them. If the foreign policy white paper starts that we are looking up north, no, you just have one man officers there and put 3-4 people up there. You beef up the Kundu Beijing, minister, consular, first, second, third, and then you have consulates in Shanghai, Harbin, all those places. Same thing, you have a beef up the embassy in Tokyo with consulates in the other provinces, beef up the, all that. That's how it's supposed to be. You want to, if the game plan is saying that we moved up that way, that's how you do it. And once you beef up everything up there, then you restructure the department accordingly to have a north-looking policy division makeup. You can't have a look-north policy and yet you are beefing up the Pacific Islands. Okay, and that happened. That happened in the 1990s, simply because we had our foreign service capability was not on par to play with the northern people. And people can argue this with me, but I have facts. Okay? And that fact is born out of the fact. That fact is born out of the fact that once we started bringing in people to talk about Papua New Guinea's hosting APEC 2018 hosting, when we started bringing them together in 2013, most of the public service, most of our international relations experts were against it. And then I sort of sensed the feeling that yeah, no God, these people are more comfortable playing in the Pacific. They have never touched base up there. And this is in the 1990s, you see. So Prime Minister Wingte has a look not policy in the 1990s, and we were beefing up the Pacific and the South. So there's a disconnect there. And it took more than 15 years for us to implement that look not policy by hosting APEC 2018. That's how I see it. And then we had the opportunity of my daughter had the opportunity of being Sir John Caputin's liaison officer over the last 4 days. And Sir John was instructed by, Sir John was foreign minister, and he was instructed by Prime Minister Wingte to go to Blake Island in the US in 1993 to negotiate and lobby for PNG to become a member of APEC. So I gave him a copy of my book, and he was so happy because it was something he was part of. And then then you go across to Blake Island in the US, and you are lobbying support for PNG to become a member of APEC, and then you have your closest neighbor say no. We are lobbying for Mexico to become a member of APEC. Your so-called traditional partners. So what happens? The guys across the border are telling the guys whom we have 4 offices, telling them that no, you support Papua New Guinea's membership, we will support Mexico's membership. So Papua New Guinea's joining up of APEC came on the back of Mexico. So when we are talking about international relations and about our bilateral partnership and join at the hip and all those things, all this history must come into play. So those are just some background information on how current international relations configurations must be considered, because we have to look at history. The reason why the reason why I opted not to talk with certain economists in 2019 when I held up the APEC senior officials meeting because of the Chilean request to have it listed as a declaration was the fact that they were not there in 2018 when we were lobbying for economists to support our declaration. You look at it on the cover of the foreign policy book we have. I'm sitting there taking note. Prime Minister O'Neill is there listening to his New Zealand and Australian counterpart. And his Australian counterpart is telling our Prime Minister that go with the consensus. But the New Zealand counterpart is telling the Australian counterpart, no, this is Papua New Guinea's host. You and I, our responsibility is to convince the other membership that respect Papua New Guinea's host, and if they want this paragraph in, let them have it. So look, now there's a difference now. So this is like kind of to talk about join at the hip or whatever, or mouse talk. When it comes down to the real crunch, all but testing brain power me. Now, if you back down, all but move on. But once you miss so more say, no, me plagad mo sabe than you plug, this will not happen, it will not happen. So when we went to Singapore the following year to do that, let's talk to more. So we will only talk with the New Zealand and the Indonesians. The Indonesian foreign minister in 2018 lobbied around the amount of foreign ministers, asking them to do the same thing which Prime Minister Aden was telling others to do. So based on those common experiences, when you go into international relations negotiations or meetings, those things must always play a big role in helping you make a decision. Rafael, I'll stop there.
Thank you, Mr. Ako. Onto my second question. That's relating to one of my previous comments on my thought or my opinion to legislate the foreign policy. So I just wanted to ask from your perspective, would legislating the foreign policy help ensure consistency, or would that limit flexibility in the changing times? What is your opinion on that?
Yeah. Over the years, I've been advocating for foreign policy to be legislated in the Constitution, so that it's there. And when there's a change of guard in the departments, the law is there to guide us make decisions. Some countries do have it in their constitution, like France. I think the US also have it in their constitution, which is why they go to war. Once you impinge on the foreign policy law, you impinge the law, they go to war. So if you I think if you do some additional research, I think the French and I think the US also have their foreign policy intent. I'm not sure about the US, but the French, yes, they have it in their constitution. So yes, I agree with that. You will note that the only reference to any international relations / foreign policy words in our constitution is under Section 117. And that Section 117, I mentioned it in my foreign policy book, and in the last couple of days has become very, very popular as thinkers and experts start looking at the pros and cons of the PUC treaty. So that has become very popular. But I think there should be an amendment in place to put Section 118 on the foreign policy white paper, or Papua New Guinea's foreign policy is friends to an enemy to none. If it's listed there, I'm talking there, it's there in the Mama Law. So any white paper, but we will review the white paper every second year because it's already there. So you do a white paper in 2025, 2027, and we review them again because friends to one, enemy to none. You mean the last 2 years we've been doing it wrongly, so let's put it right again. Oh, the situation around the region or the globe has changed, has warranted us to seek for more friends elsewhere and leave the other enemies behind. No, something like that. But it would be nice. I think it would be proper to have it based in there. So it would be proper to have it listed in the bigger game plan. Yeah, I agree.
Thank you, Mr. Ako, for your explanation. I have another relating question that just popped up while you were answering that question. In your perspective from over the years, why do you think um, um, the government has not thought or has not wanted to legislate the foreign policy as part of the constitution? Or have they considered that opinion or not?
Sorry, Rafaela, please repeat it again.
Yes. this is just a follow-up question based on your explanation while you were answering my question there. So why do you think the government has not taken that approach or has not thought of legislating the foreign policy as part of the constitution, like what you stated there? You've been advocating for it. So is there some sort of reasoning as to why it has not happened yet, or why they're sidelining that idea? Yeah.
I think it has not featured in their thoughts. They've left the Mama Law as it is because from my talks with experts, lawyer experts, they're saying that, and it's true, we've seen it. You want to do a constitutional amendment, it has to go through 3 readings in Parliament, and you have to lobby all the members to support it. So I think the amount of work in place, the lack of staffing in lack of ministerial staff or the capability blow moving this idea is very limited. So it may have come up, but there is the energy to push it forward was not there. I think that's my own opinion. But it would be nice for them to hear about this and maybe revisit it. So look, if we had that in the constitution, all these treaties would have come out from it. So 2 years ago, when this thought of a treaty came up, they would say, "Hold on, you may go back to the constitution and check in past them." And then from there on, they would have built it up. So none of this, none of the Q&A sessions we're having right now in the country would have come up.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Ako. Okay, so on to my last and final question. So how can PNG ensure that in your opinion, yes, how can PNG ensure that foreign policy is consistent even when the government or the leaders are changing? What is one measure that you would recommend or put forward?
I would put forward what Mr. Aguirre has written there. We should take a project management approach, because a project management approach enables you to adapt accordingly as you go to, as you advance, as you progress, and it has a start date and a finish date. So you see, then we can have 12 monthly iterations. 12-month iterations as we move any activity forward. I think that should be one of the way. And again, more importantly, I think capacity building is still one of our gaps in the foreign service. And that capacity building, we should not spend time going out to bilateral partners. I say that because look at it like Dinao. You may go ask him, online lokam help him 2 months. The next time we really need their help for something, but you may ask him, plan something finish, or then by me ask him, but we won't. All batok nogat. So those small low-hanging fruits like capacity building, like I mentioned earlier on, we have the numbers available now in the country to provide it. All we need is find some funding for them, set up a training institution, so what, and employ former ambassadors and former high commissioners. You have people like Ambassador Max Rai, a wealth of knowledge. He's retired now, but I mention him purposely, not only because I served under him, but that 4 years I served under him, I learned a lot of things which I had never learned in foreign service school. And then to reconfirm what he taught me, I corroborated that with other heads of missions from other countries. Not in a direct manner, but in a roundabout way of asking questions, and they confirm what Ambassador Rai mentioned. And these are people who've served in multiple missions. So we need them. We need them we need to bring them in together to help us. You have look at the Chinese. The Chinese have what they call friendship associations. So if they have they normally group the PNG together with the rest of the Oceania. So they have an Oceania Friendship Association, and it's made up all the ambassadors who've served in the Pacific. So that association hosts normally hosts receptions for Pacific embassies, and you will attend it, and you can discuss issues of mutual concerns or interest, and then anything can happen after that. We must step out of the step. We must advance to the stage where we have institutions that can take up that can they can not support, but they can utilize retired officers with qualification. I mean, right now in the country, we have a total of maybe more than 1,000 years of experience in international relations. You look at Sir John alone; he's 85 now, but Papua New Guinea's political history can be built around him because he was there during the colonial era. He was the first person to play rugby league with the expatriates. He was the first known person to have married an expat in those colonial times. So I totally agree. In my opinion, we need to have this in the Constitution, and we need to have capacity building institutions where retired foreign service officers can be brought in again and brought in again to teach. They should be here as well with us as an institution, or having quarterly workshops or quarterly dialogues up at the Divine Word, and bringing in all experts together to have seminars on anything. You know, the idea which Mr. Egora did for our Friday and these sessions. Imagine if we had the fun, and it would have been done every Friday. We have a seminar at the Divine Word conference halls to run all these things. Imagine if we had the money, we would be doing this face to face, and it would not only be me talking, but we will have a panel of experts supporting and answering to all your queries. That can still happen if we continue to seek support for that. So I think that's one thing we should do in the coming years. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Ako. That was my last question. So yes, thank you once again for the very interesting answers. There's always a lot to take from your explanation of yours. So thank you, and apologies to everyone for taking up too much time. So I'll let Yesit go ahead. Thank you, Mr. Ako.
Thank you, Rafaela. Thank you for your comments and your questions. We also learned a lot from your comments. Let's listen to Yasi.
Thank you, Mr. Ko and Mr. Yagara. Just have some few comments and questions to make. So, sorry. Okay. My questions are based on the Connect PNG, the topic on Connect PNG in a globalized world. So yeah, as I the Connect PNG policy, like for my first question is on the Connect PNG policy, and it's linked with the BRI. I think like for the Connect PNG policy that was introduced by introduced by Petonil back then. Like then after after that policy was introduced, like then Petonil go on to join or sign a MOU with China president to become a member of the BRI, I think in maybe 2018. And It was like it's part of the policy. It's part of the policy's plan or something like that. You see, for Pitauner to connect PNG, Pitauner needs to join in with the BRI, the Belt and Road Initiative, in order to uh, receive assistance or like the launch the monies from China to help in this help in the infrastructure and all of those projects, those roads, and yeah, the project funded by the BRI. Like it was that I think the policy makes it, or based on that policy, determine take another approach to, I mean, from that policy, determine met with China president to, yeah, to become the member of the BRI. And also, uh, I can, I can say that there's been some, or yeah, some infrastructures and some development from the BRI during Peter O'Neill's time. I think there is a link, what would I say, like that policy, the Connect PNG policy, gets you Peter O'Neill to maybe like sign the, become the member of, yeah, sign a MOU with China to become the member, be a member of the Belt and Road Initiative. Yeah, that's just my first comment on that. And my second comment would be on that the project itself and the debt trap, what diplomacy and all of those talks about the debt trap in China, like that is another risk for a risk for another like potential threat of the BRI projects and initiative. But from another perspective, you would see that we Indians, we need to become the, we need to pursue the BRI initiatives because we need infrastructure developments and all of that. But then other like foreign Western countries or something like that, they are trying to fool us, or they're trying to trick us by saying that no, we're going to their trap with China or something like that. But the BRI, I think the BRI, it's like it's more beneficial for us or for the nation as a whole, for people, for PNG to join and yeah, PNG can receive benefits from that. Yeah, I think that move by Petoni to join the BRI initiative, it's a it's a good move. But that depends on prime ministers now. And now Marape is like uh, Marape is looking towards Australia and US and all of that. But for Petoni as a prime minister, I think Petoni did some really good things back then. Yeah, that's that's just my comment on the Connect PNG policy and how I think it may lead to the DRI. So I just have some few comment, a few questions to ask. So when PNG, like for this is for you, Mr. Ako, like when PNG joined the BRI, how does Australia react? Do you have some knowledge on that? Like for when PNG joined the BRI during Petoni's time as Prime Minister, how does Australia react to that? Or did Australia react to, yeah, that's my question.
Australia, Okay, okay, yeah. Yes, thank you for that. It's a very, very critical question. But Australia does not really mind about Papua New Guinea's involvement or signing up on economic arrangements with other countries, especially with China. If we look at Australia's engagement with China, Australia engages 5-10 times more with China than Papua New Guinea every year, which is why I have always advocated the fact that we need to bring our training capability to that other level, to a much more higher level where all can understand him that what we are moving, what and why we are moving like this is because of our thinking capability, and it's not a knee-jerk decision. You look at the BRI. I personally see the BRI as a China's foreign policy game plan around the world. So our role now is to match our game plan with that. Not match, but match him. Match him so that by me win. Match him lo align him for mutual benefit. No. Mutual benefit I'm normal. But how by me win? I think that's something we have to make clear when we are discussing our foreign policy, and that I'm reminding myself too also. When we are talking about bilateral situation, it's about us advancing Papua New Guinea's interest, and it's not about mutual benefit. And with the Chinese, they will always this word win-win situation by always come up statements blow all get the time win-win. But I'm not a win-win. We mustn't take that at face value. We have to come back and check up on our domestic situation. Now looking whether this idea blow or moving investment goals or this sector and by me win too or not. The fact that an economy is investing X number of millions of X millions of kina into a particular sector does not necessarily mean that them win, believe me. Because for all we know, they are investing in a particular sector which we do not require investment in. We need that investment somewhere. But we must have the capability to inform our bilateral partners that no, we want this investment Goloha because this data says so. So that's one of the challenges which we need to improve on going forward. But no, in answer to your question, no, I've spoken to my former Australian APEC colleagues, and they said, look, it's your sovereign decision. Go ahead and do it. So once you miscaling talk pigeon blow, what all talk him, how you move him, you move him based on game plan do you? Me play game plan, me play cover him, you play. So where you'll move lo here, me all move lo game plan blow. There's nothing mutually beneficial about that. All right.
All right, thank you. Yeah, just two questions on globalization. I would like to ask. First one is is globalization a leading? So wait, is globalization leading to exploitation of Kenya's natural resource by foreign entities? And the second question is, how can PNG promote its cultural heritage on the global stage? How can PNG promote its cultural heritage on the global stage? That's just two questions I would like to ask.
Okay. So you asked your two questions. The second question was our thoughts on globalization leads to exploitation. I'm straight, huh?
Yes.
Okay. Now, last question: how can PNG promote its cultural heritage in the global arena, global stage?
Yes, yes.
Okay, good plan. All right. So let's answer the second question. Globalization can lead to exploitation. Yes, that's true. It's a fine line which people walk on, and we have to take in the other variables at play too. When when we're looking at exploitation, then we're looking at maybe look at the development international development companies who are running Australia's aid program, and that's where the talks on boomerang aid comes in. That talks about they bring in advisors to support this capability in this part, and they pay those advisors, and the money goes back, so it doesn't stay in the country. So that can be viewed in that way. Also, if those understandings confirmed, also it can be looked at in other ways where through their companies going into our environment and destroying our environment, like the issues which Ramon Nicol has over the years in terms of environment exploitation and all that. So it can be viewed differently depending on the circumstances. But again, globalization encompasses international relations, which therefore leads on to foreign policy. So it's our choice to bring investors in. It's our choice to go into partnership with our bilateral partners. So once we start saying later on, after the partnerships have been signed and inked, that this is not supposed to be, then did we not check the fine prints of the arrangements in the past earlier on in order to come up into that situation? So that's my opinion on this globalization question. Now, in terms of the promoting our cultural heritage in the global arena, I do agree that we there's still a lot of opportunities out there for PNG to promote our tourism and our culture and heritage there. And in addition to using our foreign missions abroad. See, this is where I think Jemaima's question comes in terms of funding and cost. When we start promoting our tourism through our embassies, note very well that the diplomats based at those embassies are not tourism officers. All they know is what we all know from the briefings the people at TPA would have given them before they went on post. Now, if we had enough funding, or if there was an understanding between TPA and the Department of Foreign Affairs, then we would be having tourism officers based at those missions. Not all the missions. We need to be strategic about this. Which missions do we want to target tourism from? That's where we should have them. One, and secondly would be up to our own department, the Tourism Promotion Authority, our culture organizations, and culture-based and tourism-based organizations to start attending international engagements. Okay, with their own funding or with funding support from the government. So the onus is up to them, to up to all these parties to go ahead and so that this happens. We must also note very well that if you attend any cultural or tourism expo internationally, everybody is bringing in all their tourism attractions from all over the world. You know, there was one I attended in China when I was based in China. There was a tourism Expo in China, and the South Africans brought their Zulu warriors. The Fijians brought their Meke dancers. They all brought their they all brought their number one show, which the world knows, to be seen live. So if that's the case, then what is PNG known by? You put up a picture, or you walk into a room full of pictures from different types of countries, from different countries. What is the first thing you see when you look at a particular picture? We want a situation where once you look into the picture, which our MM or PNG, or once you see another picture, you will know, oh, this is from South Africa, or this is from Peru. See, that's the cultural pointers we want internationally. Or is our foreign policy driven to support our cultural heritage internationally or not? That's another question we need to ask ourselves also. In terms of our foreign policy white paper, is it also written to support our cultural and tourism efforts abroad? That's another thing. From my experience in China also, every year, the South Africans never missed out on funding, bringing in 3 or 4 dancing groups from South Africa during their national days. They used, those bigger economies used to do that. They brought in their dancers to showcase. Some others went ahead in having tourism and investment expos on the eve of their cultural national days. Those are some of the ways we can promote our cultural heritage. And I do agree from one of the comments in our group, I think Mr. Eger wrote, yes, we do not have a cultural diplomacy plan. So it would be interesting to see whether the talked about foreign policy white paper has a cultural diplomacy plan in it, and how the Department of Foreign Affairs is going to work with the tourism agencies, the cultural organizations, to push our cultural heritage abroad. Okay, see, thank you for your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Ako. I just have one last comment to make. It's for you. I think for the last few how many sessions that you have took with us, I think I learned a lot from you as a diplomat in foreign affairs, and from the perspective or the way you taught us, and all of those knowledge coming from you. I learned so many new things from that, and I appreciate you for taking your time to giving us lecture and all of this. And I would like to say thank you to you, as you have given so much to us. Thank you, Mr. Ako, and sorry guys for taking up too many time. I don't let the next person go ahead. Thank you, Mr. Gora and Mr. Ako.
Thank you, Yasi, for your comments as well, and for the kind words to Mr. Ako. Yes, all of us have gained a lot from him, but also we have learned from you people as well through your comments and your interaction with us. You keep studying, keep talking about foreign policy. Stella Marie, please go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Yagara, Mr. Ako, and everyone. So I have a total of 5 comments and 5 questions to make. So I'll start with my comments first. So my first comment is on the Q&As sessions. So Mr. Ako and Mr. Yagara, all of your answers to all my questions have broadened my knowledge on foreign policy in PNG, understanding how practitioners and academics shape the foreign policy, how late Sir Michael Thomas Somare and other prime ministers leading up to James Marape built our nation and its international relations, and not to forget the new terms that I learned, which are carrots and sticks. On to my second comment is on the unit. So previously in semester 1, I didn't see the importance of celebrating the 50th independence anniversary of our country because of the increase of crime rates, the Wednesday and negative reports made by the media organizations on the vote of no confidence and all of these political issues. However, through this unit PG428, I have learned that the government, practitioners, and academics are working together to build a greater PNG. And I've also learned the input of the prime ministers in the international relations strategies. This has made me to be patriotic about the country. And yes, I celebrated the 50th independence of the country for all the goodness of the growth. Yes, many Papua New Guineans are excelling in different aspects of life according to forefathers their vision. So on to my third comment. It's based on topic 8, PNG connect in a globalized world. So under that topic, Mr. Ako mentioned that Sam Mekero was PNG's 7th Prime Minister from 1999 to 2002, and he inherited a depressed economy and a fractious legislature. So according to my research, despite this, he launched reforms to stabilize the economy and restore governance. And his main focus was on strengthening financial institutions, restoring macroeconomic stability, tackling corruption and mismanagement, rebuilding public trust in government, and rebuilding public trust in government. And his leadership was widely credited. On my fourth and fifth comment is it is based on the PDF under this unit titled The Challenge of PNG's Foreign Policy Redirection, which was published in 2020 by the Pacific Flow. So under this PDF file, it was stated that Prime Minister James Marape promptly announced a shift in the country's foreign policy, diverting it from its traditionally non-confrontational approach to international affairs. So on to my fourth comment. According to my research on this, the reasons behind this shift is firstly, economic focus over political alignment. He actively sought deeper ties with the Southeast Asian economies like Indonesia, Malaysia, and Singapore and Philippines. And secondly is reducing over-reliance on traditional partners. So while maintaining strategies with Australia, Marape looked far or had a desire to diversify PNG's partnerships. On to the fifth comment is based on a phrase under the PDF, take back the economy. So this was said by James Marape, and the PDF was published in 2020. So now it is 2025, and it has already been 5 years. And so far, Marape's vision has led to, under this take back the economy, so his vision has led to inclusive growth via agriculture and infrastructure, such as the road connection, and greater national equity in resource projects. However, some challenges are inflation and currency depreciation and uneven regional development. So this is all for my 5 comments. Now on to the 5 questions. So Mr. Ako, I will ask the question and you will answer it. So the first question is, so these 5 questions are under the topic 8, PNG Connect in a Globalized World. So the first question is, how effective was the WINTI government's international relations strategy of independent commitment to international cooperation between PNG and other countries?
Sorry, Stella Marie, I did not catch the last part.
The question is, how effective was the Winty government's international relations strategy of independent commitment to international cooperation between PNG and other countries?
This was this would be during the late 1990s, I think, if I
Yes.
can correctly. Yeah. By then, we were already more than 20 years or so independent, and our capability, our international relations and foreign service capability were already on the rise. So in addition to our international engagements and bilateral relations, we thought we would, Winty wanted to move more into engaging more, noting very well that Prime Minister Winty was the first of the new generation of leaders who became the Prime Minister. Everyone before him had been there pre-independence. So his thoughts were more open and more forward-looking then than the older prime ministers, who were more not inward-looking, but who were more looking at securing our heritage first. So his moves also enabled the opening up of more missions. I think it was under Sam Mekere that the missions were, if I remember correctly, it was under Sam Mekere or before that the PNG started closing down its missions. And once it closed down the mission in France, it never opened up again. Same for the, I'm not sure whether the consulates in Frankfurt, Germany, and the others are still open. I hope that answered your question, Stella Marie.
Thank you. Now moving on to the second question. Could you elaborate on why the PNG's fourth Prime Minister, Sir Rabi Namaliu, introduced the strategic initiative of economic aspects of active and selective engagement from 1980 to 1992?
Mr. Ako, you're on mute.
My goodness. Okay. Stella Marie. This is talking about the economic advancements under the active and selective engagement foreign policy, right? So during 88 to 1992 is a time when we also started increasing our engagement with Taiwan as a province of China. And it would be around that time also that our trade relationship with Taiwan increased, and this was in agreement with the One China policy. That the PRC agreed that we could not only us, there were other economies as well engaging with Taiwan on economic basis only. Okay. So when Rabi came on board, he enhanced that with his economic look to support the active and selective engagement. After Rabi, Prime Minister Winty came on board straight after that, and then he sent off Sir John Caputin to the US to lobby for PNG to become a member of APEC. But we can note that that decade from 1980 up to 1993 or the late 1990s, our foreign policy, our implementation of our foreign policy on active and selective engagement was active. We could see that we were engaging more with the well, you know, and we had leaders and we had the political support and the political will to go about doing it. Okay, and this was the decade straight after we had coiled the Vanuatu uprising, and yes, the defense was starting to be politicized around that decade also, but we had a more better understanding of international relations than in the decade straight after independence. But straight after that would also come the international financial meltdown and the Bougainville crisis that will start eating into our budget as well. And once that happened, we started looking more and more to our development partners. And then that is where we will go back to, I think, S's question on globalization. That's where the exploitations would have gone up a few notch, as we started looking for support to support our budget. So when we are looking at the historical timelines, they are very, very important because we look at our domestic affairs, and then at the same time we consider the international affairs that time. What was making us move in this direction? Was it just purely domestic of our own doing, or was this action we took domestically affected by an international event or happenings also? Okay, Stella Marie.
All right. Thank you. Moving on to the third question. It is related to question 1 and 2. So I noticed that each time a new Prime Minister is being elected into the government, there is always a new introduction of international relation strategy. And so why is that so?
As the new CEO of the country, it is very important for the PM to provide his international undertaking, because remember, all the investors and all our development partners are looking at. They are watching how this new leader is going to move. Is the way the new leader is going to run his country going to affect our bilateral relations or not? So that's why when a new leader usually comes on, a new PM or new president comes on in any country, he must say something to allay the anxiety building up in their development partners and bilateral partners. So it is always important. If a new leader comes into power and doesn't talk about any of this, it leaves a lot of uncertainty with the bilateral partners, because the bilateral partners or the investors might have investment projects in play when the government changes. So they would be very, very anxious to know whether what the new government is going to do. Is he going to stop that project, or will that project continue? Or is the signing for this new investment deal going to happen? Because it was going to be signed under the new prime minister, under the old prime minister, and then the leadership changed, and now the new prime minister is now talking about something else. And we've spent finances to come up this far. So is it going to change or not? So it is important that when a new prime minister or new president comes into power, he or she must provide his international relations outlook, purposely to assure our development partners and our bilateral partners that businesses will be going as normal. Please continue providing your support to us in partnership, and let's continue to work together. So it's important.
Thank you. That was a very insightful answer. And on to my fourth question, what are some, it's like a continuation of the question 3. So what are some challenges that will be encountered if all the prime ministers will just stick to one government strategic initiative?
That's a very good question. We've never thought about that. It's a very good question. We've never thought about that because it will also depend on the adaptability of the bureaucracy. Noting very well that every minute, events are happening and changing. So it will be quite hard for it will be quite hard for an incoming leader or an incoming prime minister to stick to one particular, or to stick to any particular issues carried on by his predecessor, because the situation would be different then. Unless there hasn't been any change in world events, then of course it will be business as usual. But if a new prime minister comes on board and there happens to be some immigration issues under his watch, then he has to move accordingly to safeguard the country and enforce the law. Or suddenly around the immediate region, there's been a change of bilateral relations. A good example would be the Solomon Islands. Under Prime Minister O'Neill, they were pro-Taiwan. You look him. And then when Prime Minister Marpe came on board in 2019, a couple of years later, they became aligned to China. So of course, our shifts will change now. So now, instead of the PNG being the only high commission in the Solomon Islands, who is implementing the One China policy, now the host country is also a One China policy country now. So how then do we utilize that to advance our national interest in our bilateral relations with China in the Solomon Islands? Now it goes to the relationship between the high commissioners or the diplomats at Kundu Honiara with the Chinese embassy in the Solomon Islands. If you have a good relationship there, that relationship could spread onto bigger events where you can utilize that relationship to achieve issues that can support PNG's national interest. When I was when I had returned from China and then taken on board the role of the PNG Director General of the PNG APEC Secretariat, I had a good mate of mine, a good friend. I call a friend, not a colleague, a friend from the Chinese embassy. He also left a couple of years later. We became friends for the simple fact that it was like he came to Port Moresby as first secretary at the same time I went to China as first secretary. So we had that bond. And so when we came back, when I returned, he still had a year to go. He came and we started talking about the issues behind why the International Conference Center was being its operations were being lagged and all that because of so and so. So we both used that relationship to work together from my end and from his end to ensure that work continued at the ICC before APEC 2018, before the host meeting. So relationship counts in bilateral relations. relationship counts, you will become friends, but you must note at the back of your mind that your national interest is paramount. And your friend across the table also knows that his national interest is paramount. So both of you work towards the middle ground. And if it and it's good too, because if it can happen, you've been friends will tell him, no, mate, it will not happen. Our government's position is on this. So sorry, you might need to look at other options to help, not in this avenue. Because by no got. So it's best to ensure that you create relationship, so it makes talking and the issues of international relations and driving one's national interest easier. For instance, a couple of colleagues who are now working here came at my insistence. Their country put forward a couple of names, and I said, I don't know them. I can't work with them. If you're thinking that you will bring them up here to be my APEC liaison officer, I can't work with it. I don't know them. I only know these people. So they went ahead and brought those people here back in 2013, 2012 to be on post here. And it's because of relationship that they knew that Madam this and Mr. That knows Lahui well. So bring them up to be diplomats here, and they can support Lahui and the PNG work towards APEC 2018. So relationship counts. So in answer to your question, yes. Okay, Stella Marie.
Thank you. Moving on to my question. What is your opinion on the significance of the Look North and Look North and Work the Pacific international relations strategy in our country?
Look North for Prime Minister Wington, and when PM Julius came on board again, he added a new chapter by saying Look North and Work the Pacific, which is really good. Now that he was expanding the boundary from Look North to include the Pacific, and then his biggest initiative of all was the Pacific Plan. I think it was also under Julius under his Look North and Work the Pacific that we started bringing in Pacific Island students to institutions, educational institutions, and also giving Sampalilik aid, Golo, Solomon Islands, and the other Pacific Island countries as well. So he came up with a policy intent and had the willpower to make it happen by ensuring that the bureaucracy was directed along those paths. So that's how I saw it. And then it would have been better if the next prime minister after Sir Julius would have come and said, change it to encompass the whole well. Not change the Look North and Work the Pacific to say just we will now use that to cover our engagements throughout the world. But like I mentioned earlier on, a lot of variables come into play also. When you start, when you said Look North and Work the Pacific, did we beef up our missions in the Pacific to make that happen? Did we put in more positions? Did Foreign Affairs create more positions for Kundu Suva, Kundu Wellington, Kundu Honiara, and the Asian missions to make that foreign policy intent work? Those are some of the questions. If so, was funding available to fund those positions? Or where did the cuts happen? Did we cut out some missions in order to beef up funding in those missions? Those are some of the questions, ramifications we will have if we start moving, changing strategic intent. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Ako, for your great answers. I'm starting to understand how politics work now. Yeah, and thank you, Mr. Yagira, and everyone else for your time. That's all.
As Stella Marie, those are my opinions. So you need to like how I did with the opinions of my other mentors. You need to corroborate that with others, and then something that works
Yes.
for you and works for the country, use it. Because what I'm talking about is from my experiences. What's going to happen tomorrow might be different. So we need to be adapt. We need to adapt as we go on. So in your time, Google adaptive management, and that can help you. Google what adaptive management says, and then that can help us plan along.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Stella Marie. We are running out of time, so we'll have our last attendee to ask his questions and make his comments, and then we'll close. We'll try to find another time during the week when Mr. Ako is free, and then we'll host another question and comment session. So that will depend on Mr. Ako's availability. So let's move on to the next person, the last one, Valentine.
Mister, so many was you make a line of ask him.
Sorry, pardon me. I'll move on to my questions and comments. So I actually have 4 questions as well as 4 comments regarding the previous lessons. So moving on to the first comment, which is on the look note policy. So I believe that passing this look note policy was an attempt to reduce dependency on Australia, because from the pre-colonial days up to independence, PNG only had relationships with Australia, and therefore the look note policy was an attempt to reduce that dependency on Australia and look towards the north, which is China or the Asian countries, and this attempt by Paisungti actually influenced other nations such as surrounding nations like Solomon Islands and Vanuatu, or the other smaller Pacific Island nations, to follow suit in looking towards China and away from their previous or former colonies such as Australia and Papua New Guinea's case. So based on that, I actually also have a question. So my question is, that was the comment, and my question is, how effective or important is the look note policy in today in Papua New Guinea or the Pacific Island nations in maintaining? Is it still like relevant today for like the Papua New Guinea or other smaller Pacific Island nations to maintain relationship with like Asian countries? Is the look note policy still like relevant? If I can get your opinion on that.
That's a very, very not only good, but very strong question at this point in time when geopolitics is happening, and China is saying that he wasn't part of that treaty portion of the signing, that because when we are looking at it, China is moving moving at such a greater speed than before to influence its and also to dominate its international relations in the Pacific Islands. Okay, and one of the speed bumps it sees with its foreign policy drive is the security treaty which PNG and Australia are about to sign. According to some of the Facebook and WhatsApp groups, messages from there, the Chinese officials have released a statement just saying that PNG's sovereign right to go about doing it, but it also talked about partnership and all that are talk pigeon blow. And they are very good at providing those suggestions for us to look at. So, in answer to your question, it goes back to the foreign policy white paper. We need to have a look at the foreign policy white paper, the new one, which the eminent President Group has written and which we were told would be released this week. Because from there, it will provide us direction. And because it's really up to the leadership, the political leadership, to determine our foreign policy direction. We have Friends to All, Enemy to None, which has been promoted all over the social media. And then there are those who are saying, no, we need to actively be selective and actively engage. If you look at the Facebook videos of retired General Singarok and retired Commodore Ila, that's what they're talking about. Actively engage, be selective and actively engage. And they are looking at active and selective engagement. In that active and selective engagement that came and encompassed their leadership times, that was when the Look Note and Work the Pacific, Look Note and later Work the Pacific were in place. So it's a very good question, Valentine, because without a lack of direction right now, and there is nothing in the Mama Law that talks about foreign policy apart from Section 117 on treaties. It's really up to the minister and the foreign secretary now to drive it on how they feel it should be driven based on current events. That's my opinion.
Thank you. It's really interesting to hear about this because I think most of the time we are confused with the policies and all that. So it's really interesting, and thank you for that. I'll move on to the second comment. My second comment is on topic 8, PNG Papua New Guinea being connected in a globalized world. So in support of this policy, I think that it is important or vital for Papua New Guinea to update its foreign policy, especially in like a globalized or a changing world. It is important for like Papua New Guinea to update its foreign policy and put it on like on a written form or on a paper. This is in order for the citizens to get up to date or get understand what foreign policy of the country is. Also, it is important because it will help Papua New Guinea keep pace with other countries in a globalized or a changing world, and we will not be like left behind on how the rest of the world is progressing. So it is I think it is vital for Papua New Guinea to have its foreign policy updated and have a strong like within foreign policy to engage in foreign activities. So that's the second comment. Moving on to the second question. Second question is on the recent failure in signing the Pukpuk Treaty or the military pact between Australia and Papua New Guinea. So with the failure of Papua New Guinea and Australia in signing the defense treaty on the eve of independence, and China looming around the corner, how does Papua New Guinea remain neutral in the race between like China and Australia to like sign a treaty? So if Papua New Guinea like signs a treaty with Australia, obviously we were heard on the news that China warned us against signing a treaty. So if it eventually like signs a treaty with Australia, where does this leave us with China? Just like I wanted to get your opinion there.
That's interesting because I know that part of the NRL deal was for us not to look elsewhere. I think part of the NRLD lived that once we signed on and we became part of the NRL in 2028, 29 or 30 or thereabout, is that we were supposed to be true to the agreement we signed on. So that provided that needs to be confirmed, okay? Because a country should not be forced by another country to do its own to do the bidding of the other bigger country. That's something which we all must advocate for and stand by. We are a sovereign nation, and we have the capability to think on our own for what's good for our people. So if it means we sign multiple security treaties with multiple bilateral partners, then so be it. Everything to strengthen our borders and our people's interests, because we're a small country. We share a land border with Asia, and we share a land border with one of the world's largest Muslim countries, and we've set up and established an embassy in Jerusalem. Then we have a looming security treaty coming up with Australia. And while that looming security treaty is coming up with Australia, we have the biggest country of China looming around the Pacific. Those are the that is how the environment is to us this very minute. So as international relations experts and foreign policy experts, how do we maneuver around that to ensure that PNG's interest is paramount in all this? I saw a cartoon of two leaders playing ping pong or table tennis, and someone made a comment to that about saying that that's how PNG's diplomacy is, going to just sitting on the fence and being pushing in a direction where it's heavier, and then later, all that. Is that good for us? It might be good. Who knows? But does that also mean that we are fence sitters again? Looking at the highest where our interest will lie will go, and then next, when the wind blows again in a different direction, we'll go that way. And if that's the case, then how? If that's the case, then how is the bureaucracy going to plan accordingly? If today by me wearing one plat jersey, and tomorrow again wearing another plat jersey, same man. So your question is very important, and it goes back to my comments this earlier throughout the session now, that we must have a sense of direction from the new foreign policy white paper, which the eminent peasants drew up, and which was supposed to be given to us this week. And yes, the importance of intelligence is very, very critical. And the clear example of why intelligence is critical is you look at the state of Israel. They have a very strong intelligence around the region, around the world, that country can surround him all, okay, number, but time intelligence will move now, give him advance notice. They put defenses up, or they go on the attack immediately. Yeah, I'm not saying that we PNGs should have similar capability, but if we can have similar capabilities to support our economic development endeavors, then it will provide more benefits for our people in the communities. I mean, you look at it's funny, but it's true. You look at this last 2 days. All PNG Power put in blackout at 6 o'clock, and we know that the NRL game bound was 7:50. So around 7:44, power come on. They go game go finish. People sabotage people ready worry stop 11 p.m. or putting power go off again. Walking worry blue people go hard again. and then same also for today. You know, there was a power blackout until I think 3:45 before the game came on at 4. So at least we know that the line of PG power to all line of watching NRL. So we know that if there's an NRL game, power bound. No, we shouldn't be having that. You know, if we had the proper stronger infrastructure, you know, power would be on, and once we have energy, we can have seamless conversations on Zoom instead of going off for a while and coming on because data is not working or internet and all that stuff. No, it all works. So I am of the opinion that the game plan must be on now, or suppose no got them, you know, we'll continue to live as we are as we go on. What means more some Valentine?
Thank you, Mr. Go. Seems that our time is moving. I'll jump straight to my other comments and questions. So just another comment here from hearing you speak about hearing you address my question. I think that during this tensions between like the more powerful countries, it is it is important for Papua New Guinea to prioritize its national interest ahead of like the bigger countries like Australia or China. Because as it prioritize its national interest, it would be in a better place to address such issues or threats from both like China and Australia. So that's what I think. And moving on to another comment is I think also it is important for like Papua New Guinea to during these times it is important for Papua New Guinea to like focus on neighborly cooperations between like Pacific Island countries and like strengthening ties with Pacific Island countries and Indonesia, which is also its neighbor. So and Australia as well before like signing any treaty with like the bigger countries because they will be Papua New Guinea would be the one that is caught in the middle of all this. So I think it is important for like Papua New Guinea to prioritize neighborly cooperation in terms of like strengthening trade and economic, social security partnerships. All that before like engaging with the bigger countries. And our third question would be what do you, on faith-based diplomacy, what do you think about as Papua New Guinea's religious like beliefs and values played a part in its foreign policy engagement, especially with aligning itself with like the more powerful countries. Since we declare ourselves to be like a Christian country, Marabe has said it over and over, like black, rich Christian nation and all that. Do you think like our religious beliefs and values has played a part in our foreign policy engagement?
It from my own point of view, it has always played a part in our foreign policy engagement. We all know very well that there are certain countries in the world who are not Christians. You know, and one of my mentors told me, when you deal with them, note very well that they're not Christians. So what I'm kind of call give him don't knock similar face value. Because in team role different also go bowl or idol or line or something also ma. But then no, yes, on a religious point of view, yes. But then these are the same countries who are providing us the roads and the schools and the, you know. So where does that stand? And then you look at the American system, where the Jewish lobby is so high there, you know. No, ever since the 1900s all the way up to the establishment of the Jewish state late in the 1940s and the wars that follow. American foreign policy has always taken into account the very influential Jewish lobby. So you look at in the US, they have that lobby blow juice. It's all there, right at Congress, even at Senate level, and all stuff. And again, it's because of what we are discussing. Is because of the intelligence, one, and because of the funding. Most of the multi-millionaire companies or CEOs or stuff like USA, all tumunabdol Jews. And they're the ones who are funding the Jewish lobby. Okay, and they know that once all Rosim this support, things might go differently for any standing president. In our case, it's been done through the PNG Council of Churches. They every now and then also boom all big line also put him out statement coming out in support or in condemning X, all that. So that's how we can support, but there is huge space still available in Papua New Guinea for faith-based interest can be driven to drive to influence our foreign policy. It's all there. I'm stopping it. So sometimes it's working, but it's been veiled under other titles. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Go, for the very clear response. So I'll move on to my last comment. So I think that Papua New Guinea will actually benefit more from the Puku Treaty or the military pact with Australia, as it will allow I think up to 10,000 soldiers or something like that to enable them to go and get Australian citizenship and employment opportunities down in Australia, especially during this time when employment opportunities and all that low in Papua New Guinea. So it will actually benefit the Papua New Guineans more than the Australians. That's what I think. But the people the Minister for Foreign Affairs, all that, they have to review the contents of the treaty first before signing it, so that way that they know where Papua New Guinea stands, and what the contents that are in the treaty. Yeah, that's what I think about the military pact that was being delayed. And on that note, I'll also ask my last question. So the last question is, you actually touched on this in when you answered the first question that I asked you. So a lot of people are saying that if Papua New Guinea backflips on this security treaty with Australia and all that, Australia will remove the NRL expansion bid, or that's what I've been hearing. And what do you think? I wanted to get your perception on this. If Papua New Guinea doesn't sign the security pact with Australia, is it going to actually affect our chances of having an NRL team in the NRL?
Well, that's what we read in the papers, that if that doesn't happen, then we don't have an NRL team. But then that wouldn't stop us from going out and looking for other sponsors to come and start our own Super League team, comp. Expand the Digital Cup into a Super League where we can bring in players from England, the Pacific to come. But what's wrong with that? Or is playing in NRL so important? We have to look at the we have to look at the national interest aspect of it, because having a team in the NRL is not the PNG Kumuls. We must understand that. You see, I was in August. I had a opportunity in Sydney where I had a good day long or half day chat with Tim Shins. Everyone knows Tim Shins. He was the former Canberra Raiders coach and former Kangaroos coach. So Midla Storigo, and he told me, Lahui, you must understand that the PNG NRL team is not the Kumos. It's a franchise. And he sort of made me clear that every time we were talking about a PNG NRL bid, I was thinking, Timbal Papunini Bagolo. And no, it is a franchise. It's a company that's going to be made up of players which the franchise will buy to come and play for the company. It is not the PNG Kumos. So then that boards us to ask the question, so is it important for us? What's wrong with us building up our DSL Cup here to a bigger level where we can have players exported out to play in NRL clubs? Isn't that the same thing? Or would we rather go down there and be, fight for the bottom half of the look at other teams playing finals for a decade? And Tim Shins pointed me in the direction of the New Zealand or the Auckland Warriors when they first came on board. You see, when they first came on board, it was a New Zealand team. It wasn't a franchise. That's why local lose until all changing mentality blown, and they started bringing in other players from especially from Australia. Then they started looking at their results started changing. You see, so I think that is something we must understand, that the PNG NRL team is not the PNG Kumos. It is a franchise, so it is going to be made up. We'll be lucky to have 2, 3, or 4 Papua New Guineans playing in it. Everyone of there would be marquee players and other players contracted to play for us. That's my opinion, Valentine.
Thank you, Mr. Ago. It's really interesting, and yeah, I actually appreciate all your responses to my questions. It would also be like great if China sponsors our digital cup and makes it like a not semi-professional, but like a professional league. Yeah, just add on to what you were saying. That's all.
You plan start lo meeting at tutong ante mo lan lo ramunikona.
True.
Start negotiation.
All right.
Okay, thank you to Plana. Thank you everyone for attending. Time has caught up with us, so we'll continue on Tuesday. We'll continue on Tuesday, and like I said, if Mr. Ako is free anytime this week, we'll schedule another Q&A session just to keep the conversation going. We need to talk. There's a lot of people trying to be experts on foreign policy and international relations, so we need to step up now. Talk with policy, so we educate our people in PNG about foreign policy and international relations. So thank you everyone for joining, and thank you, Mr. Ako, for your time and for sharing with us your knowledge and insight. And we appreciate every time when we come together and talk, we learn new things from you, and also we learn new things from those who share with us as well, their questions and comments. So thank you very much, everyone. And keep the fire burning. Yeah, continue to talk about foreign policy and PNG's place in the region and globally. That's all. Good night over there. Thank you.
All right, okay, good night. Sorry, Raiders lose, so me ba passing mouse na. Me no tutok lo NRL now. Bye.
Broncos panic or Panthers.
Look out.
Panthers win.
And by God, grand final replay again.
Tom showing grand final. Tom showing.
Okay.
All right, okay, look in.